The arena floor was slick with blood that was not his own. Dane Korven stood alone in the center of the killing ground, breathing hard, watching the gates for whatever nightmare the Crucible Masters would unleash next. 8 opponents had fallen already. 3 more remained. The human endures. The announcer's voice boomed across the stadium, where 40,000 aliens watched his struggle for their entertainment. But can he survive the Razorbacks? The gates opened. 3 creatures that looked like armored bears crossed with industrial shredders charged into the arena, their metallic claws tearing furrows in the stone floor. Dane adjusted his grip on the plasma blade, the only weapon they had allowed him. His body screamed for rest, but rest meant death, and death meant his sister would never receive the medical treatment that kept her alive. He had signed his freedom away for her survival. Now he would prove what that choice meant. The first Razorback lunged. Dane rolled beneath its swipe, bringing his blade up in a strike that severed the tendons in its rear leg. It crashed down howling as the second beast attacked from his blind side. Pain exploded across his ribs as claws raked his armor. Dane twisted with the blow instead of against it, using the momentum to drive his blade through the creature's exposed throat. It gurgled and fell, thrashing. The third Razorback circled, learning from its packmate's mistakes. Dane could see the intelligence in its eyes, the calculation. This one would be different. "Come on then," he said quietly. "Let us finish this." High above the arena floor, in a private observation box that most would kill to access, Sylendra of Clan Ashkarii watched the human with predatory focus. Her species, the Ashkarii, had once been the greatest warriors in 12 sectors. Now they numbered barely 10,000, their genetic diversity collapsing, their warrior bloodlines fading into mediocrity. She had traveled across the galaxy searching for suitable candidates. For 5 years she had watched arena after arena, gladiatorial pit after pit, searching for beings with the combat prowess and genetic compatibility her clan desperately needed. Until today, she had found nothing worth preserving. "Remarkable," she said to her attendant, a smaller Ashkarii named Kelthrin. "He fights with intelligence, not just instinct. Watch how he conserves energy between exchanges, how he turns their aggression against them." "He is still just human," Kelthrin observed. "Their species is unremarkable in every metric. Weak, slow, fragile compared to proper warriors. Yet he has survived 11 matches in the Crucible, where most species fall in 3. Sylendra leaned forward as the human executed a maneuver that should have been impossible for a biped of his configuration. "There is something here we have not seen before." Below, the final Razorback struck. Dane saw the attack coming, but his exhausted body could not fully evade. The creature's claws caught his left arm, tearing through armor and flesh. Blood sprayed as he staggered back, blade dropping from nerveless fingers. The Razorback pressed its advantage, massive jaws opening to crush his skull. Dane drove his right fist into the beast's eye socket, feeling the orb rupture under the impact. As it recoiled screaming, he grabbed his fallen blade with his mangled left hand despite the agony and drove it upward through the creature's lower jaw into its brain. The Razorback collapsed. Dane went down with it, pinned under 300 kilograms of dead weight, his vision tunneling. "The human falls," the announcer declared. "Will this be his end?" Dane pushed. His left arm was useless, his ribs probably cracked, his body running on pure adrenaline and stubborn refusal to quit. He pushed anyway. The crowd's roar changed pitch as he emerged from under the corpse, standing on shaking legs, blade raised. "The human stands," the announcer screamed. 11 victories. The Crucible has not seen such a run in 20 cycles. Sylendra was already moving toward the arena floor. "My lady, what are you doing?" Kelthrin called after her. "Claiming my prize," she replied, "before someone else recognizes what I have found." The medical base smelled like antiseptic and despair. Dane lay on a diagnostic bed while machines knitted his torn flesh back together, a process that hurt nearly as much as the original injury. He had learned not to scream. Screaming showed weakness, and weakness meant fewer sponsors, and fewer sponsors meant less money for his sister's treatment. "You fight well for a human," a voice said from the doorway. Dane opened his eyes to see something that froze his breath. She stood nearly 7 feet tall, her body covered in dense muscle and natural armor plating that looked like interlocking scales of burnished copper. Her eyes were predator-sharp, colored like molten gold, and her face bore the angular features of something designed by evolution to hunt and kill. She was also, despite the alien features, somehow beautiful in a way that made no logical sense. "Who are you?" he managed. "Sylendra of Clan Ashkarii. I am here to make you an offer. Not interested in offers. I fight, I earn, I survive. That is the arrangement." "Your arrangement is suicide by installment," Sylendra said, moving into the room with liquid grace. "You have won 11 matches. The Crucible Masters will continue escalating until something kills you. That is how the game works. Eventually, you will face something even your remarkable skill cannot overcome. Then I will die having kept my word." Dane closed his eyes against another wave of pain as the machines sealed the worst of his wounds. "My sister receives treatment as long as I fight. That is all that matters. What if I told you there was another way? One where your sister receives the best medical care in the galaxy and you never have to step into that arena again?" "I would say such generosity comes with a price I probably cannot afford." Sylendra smiled, showing teeth that could tear through steel. "Perceptive. Yes, there is a price. My people are dying. We need genetic diversity from compatible warrior bloodlines. You would provide that diversity." Dane's eyes snapped open. "You want me for breeding stock? I want your bloodline preserved and combined with mine. The Ashkarii were once the greatest warriors in known space. We conquered, we dominated, we ruled through strength of arms. Then our numbers dwindled. Genetic bottlenecks emerged. Each generation is weaker than the last." She moved closer, her intensity palpable. "Until I watched you fight today, you are something we have not seen. Something that might save my entire species. I am a human. We are nothing special. You said so yourself. We are weak, slow, fragile. Your attendant said that. I did not agree." Sylendra gestured at the monitors displaying his vital signs. "Your species has something rare. You call it adrenaline. We have studied it. When threatened, your bodies flood with chemicals that temporarily override pain, fatigue, rational thought. You become capable of feats that should destroy you. Lots of species have stress responses. Not like yours. Most species shut down when critically injured. Self-preservation overrides combat effectiveness. But you," her smile widened. "You pushed a 300-kilogram corpse off yourself with a mangled arm and broken ribs, then stood ready to fight again. That is not normal survival instinct. That is something extraordinary." Dane studied her, trying to read intentions and features that were too alien to parse easily. "What exactly are you proposing?" "A partnership. You join Clan Ashkarii. Your sister receives the finest medical care our considerable resources can provide. You train with us, fight alongside us, and yes, eventually contribute genetically to our rebuilding. But you would not be property. You would be clan. And if I refuse? Then you return to the arena tomorrow and the day after and the day after that until something kills you. Your sister continues receiving minimal care until the money runs out. Then she dies as well." Sylendra's tone was matter of fact, not cruel. "I am offering you life, human. A hard life, a warrior's life, but life nonetheless. The alternative is death on an entertainment schedule." The machines beeped completion. Dane sat up slowly, testing his newly repaired body. Everything hurt, but everything worked. "I would need guarantees," he said, "for my sister's care. In writing, legally binding. Of course, the Ashkarii may be warriors, but we are not savages. Our contracts are unbreakable." "Then I accept." Sylendra's expression shifted to something that might have been satisfaction or might have been hunger. "Excellent. We depart in 3 hours. Gather whatever you wish to bring. Your old life ends today." As she turned to leave, Dane called out, "Why me? You said you have searched for 5 years. What makes me worth preserving?" She looked back, her golden eyes catching the harsh medical bay lights. "Because I watched you take wounds that should have ended you, and you kept fighting anyway. The Ashkarii call this quality Vorthan, the fire that refuses to die. We thought it was unique to our species, a gift from our harsh homeworld. But I saw it in you today. That makes you more valuable than you can possibly understand." The Ashkarii homeworld of Krell was everything Dane had been told it would be, and worse. Gravity was 1.3 times Earth standard. The atmosphere carried trace toxins that required constant medical monitoring for non-native species. The wildlife was universally hostile, and the weather patterns included something called thermal storms that could melt steel. It was hell. It was also home to the most disciplined warriors Dane had ever encountered. Again, Instructor Velker commanded as Dane picked himself up from the training mat for the 16th time. The Ashkarii warrior facing him, a male named Rothine, was half again his size and had been training in combat since before Dane was born. Every spar ended the same way. Dane on the ground, Rothine barely winded. "He is too slow," Rothine said dismissively. "Weak. This is what Our Lady brings to restore clan glory. You will be silent," Velker snapped. "And you will remember that this human survived 11 Crucible matches while you barely managed 4 before your father purchased your freedom." Rodhane's face darkened, but he said nothing. Dane got to his feet again, breathing hard, tasting blood. The gravity was murder on his earth-evolved body, and these warriors were faster and stronger than anything he had faced in the arena. But he had not survived this long by giving up when things were hard. "Again," he said. Sylendra watched from the observation platform, her expression unreadable. "He will break before he bends," Kelthrin observed beside her. "Humans lack the physiological capacity to compete at our level." "Perhaps," Sylendra said. "Or perhaps we lack the imagination to see what humans can become when properly motivated." Below, Rothine struck. Dane could not match his speed, so he did not try. Instead, he moved where he predicted the attack would not be, a trick learned from fighting creatures faster than himself. The blow whistled past his head by centimeters. Rodhane's eyes widened in surprise. That moment of hesitation was enough. Dane drove his knee into the Ashkarii's midsection with every gram of force his compressed muscles could generate. It was like kicking a stone wall, but Rothine grunted and stepped back. Before he could recover, Dane followed with an elbow strike to the nerve cluster he had studied in Ashkarii anatomy files, then swept the warrior's legs. Rothine went down. Not knocked out, not defeated, but down. The training hall went silent. Dane stood over the larger warrior, breathing hard, every muscle screaming. "I am too slow," he said clearly. "I am too weak. I cannot match you in strength or speed. But I can learn. I can adapt. That is what humans do. We are not the strongest or fastest or toughest, but we are the most stubbornly persistent creatures evolution ever produced. So mock me if it makes you feel superior. But I will still be here tomorrow and the day after, learning, improving, becoming better." He extended his hand to help Rothine up. "And when I finally beat you properly, which I will, you can decide if you want to keep underestimating humans." Rothine stared at the offered hand for a long moment before taking it. As he stood, something like respect flickered in his eyes. "You have spirit, human. Perhaps that counts for something." Sylendra smiled. "He has more than spirit. He has Vorthin, and that counts for everything." Months became a year. The year became 2. Dane's body transformed under the brutal training regime, adapting to high gravity, toxic air, and constant combat drills. His muscle density increased, his reflexes sharpened, his pain tolerance reached levels that horrified the medical staff. He learned Ashkarii combat forms, weapons use, tactical theory. He studied their history, their culture, their failing genetic codes. And he trained alongside them as an equal, earning respect bout by brutal bout. His sister thrived. The Ashkarii medical technology was centuries beyond what he could have purchased with arena earnings. She sent messages full of hope and gratitude that kept him going through the worst training days. Sylendra remained his primary contact with the clan hierarchy, though their relationship had become something neither quite acknowledged. She pushed him harder than any instructor, demanded more, accepted nothing but his absolute best. But she also stood beside him when other Ashkarii questioned his presence, defended his right to clan status, and slowly revealed the depth of her species' crisis. "We number 9,743, she told him one evening as they watched Krell's twin moons rise. "When I was born, there were 15,000. When my grandmother was born, there were 30,000. The projections are clear. Without intervention, the Ashkarii will be extinct within 4 generations. How many others have you brought in?" Dane asked. "Besides me, 12 candidates from various species over the past 5 years. Most could not survive the training. 3 remain, but their genetic compatibility is marginal. You are the only one who has successfully integrated into clan structure. Lucky me. Luck had nothing to do with it. You possess something most species cannot comprehend. The ability to endure beyond reason, to push past limits that should be absolute, to simply refuse defeat." She turned to look at him, her golden eyes reflecting moonlight. The question is whether you are willing to take the final step. Final step. Formal bonding. A permanent position within Clan Ashkarii. Full genetic contribution to our renewal project. She held his gaze steadily. Becoming mine. The words hung between them like something physical. I thought this was always the arrangement, Dane said carefully. The arrangement was genetic material and clan association. What I am proposing is different. Formal bonding means partnership, not breeding stock. It means I fight beside you, bleed beside you, stand beside you as an equal in all things. Her hand moved to rest on his shoulder, claws carefully sheathed. It means I choose you as the one worth building a future with. Dane felt something shift in his chest, an emotion he had not expected to feel for an alien warrior who could literally tear him apart. Why me? Beyond the genetics, beyond the Vorthan, why me specifically? Because you remind me what it means to be Ashkarii, Sylendra said simply. We were once the greatest warriors not because we were the strongest or fastest. We were greatest because we never quit, never surrendered, never accepted defeat. But we lost that as we became fewer. We became desperate, defensive, afraid. You showed me what we had forgotten. That the true measure of a warrior is not how hard they can hit, but how many times they can be hit and still stand up. Her expression softened slightly. You are more Ashkarii in spirit than many who were born to the clans. That is why I choose you. And if I say yes, what happens to my sister, to my ties to Earth? Your sister would become clan family. Protected, honored, given every resource we possess. Your ties to Earth would remain yours to maintain however you wish. You would not be cutting yourself off from humanity. You would be bridging two species who both need what the other offers. Dane looked out at the harsh landscape of Krell, at the world that had tried to break him and failed, at the future that was being offered. I accept. Sylendra's smile was fierce and joyful. Then tomorrow we formalize the bond. Tonight we celebrate that Clan Ashkarii has found something we thought lost forever. Hope. The bonding ceremony was brutal. Ashkarii tradition demanded that mates prove their worthiness through single combat before the assembled clan. Dane stood in the circle, facing Sylendra, knowing she would not hold back. Begin, Clan Chief Mordrax commanded. Sylendra moved like liquid lightning, faster than anything Dane had faced in training. Her first strike would have decapitated him if he had not dropped flat. Her second cracked his ribs despite his armor. Her third he managed to partially deflect, though the impact numbed his arm. He could not win through strength. He could not win through speed. But he had learned from 2 years of fighting creatures that outmatched him physically. He could win through heart. Dane stopped trying to fight her style and started fighting his own. When she struck high, he went low. When she pressed with power, he responded with precision. He took hits that would have killed him 2 years ago and kept moving, kept fighting, kept refusing to stay down. Submit, Sylendra commanded as she pinned him for the third time. You have proven enough. Not yet, Dane gasped, throwing her off with a technique Rothine had taught him. You said formal bonding means equals. Equals do not submit. Something blazed in her eyes. Respect, admiration, perhaps even love in whatever form her species understood it. They fought for another hour. Dane lost count of how many times he hit the ground. Lost count of how many bones cracked and resealed under the medical nanites all participants received. Lost count of everything except the need to prove he belonged here, belonged with her, belonged in this clan that had become his home. When it finally ended, both of them were on the ground, exhausted beyond measure, neither able to rise. I declare this bond proven, Mordrax announced. Sylendra of Clan Ashkarii and Dane Korven of Earth. You have shown equal courage, equal determination, equal refusal to yield. Rise as bonded warriors. They helped each other up, leaning on each other, bleeding on each other. That was insane, Dane managed. That was Ashkarii, Sylendra replied. Welcome to the family. The years that followed transformed both species' understanding of what was possible. Dane was not the only human recruited, though he remained the template for what Ashkarii sought in human partners. His success opened doors for others, creating a cultural exchange that benefited both civilizations. Children born of human Ashkarii bonding displayed remarkable traits. The Ashkarii strength and durability combined with human adaptability and refusal to quit created warriors that exceeded both parent species. More importantly, It created a new generation that could pull the Ashkarii back from extinction's edge. Dane became something of a legend, the first human to achieve full Ashkarii clan status, the one who proved genetic diversity could save a dying species. But he cared little for fame. What mattered was standing beside Sylendra on the walls of their compound, watching their daughter practice combat forms with the intensity of both her parents. "She has your stubborn streak," Sylendra observed as the child executed a technique incorrectly for the 20th time, refused help, and kept trying. "And your pride," Dane countered. "Dangerous combination. The best combinations usually are." They watched in comfortable silence as their daughter finally achieved the form properly, her victory roar echoing across the training grounds. "Do you regret it?" Sylendra asked suddenly. "Leaving Earth, leaving your species, choosing this life?" Dane considered the question seriously. He thought about the arena where he had nearly died 100 times. About his sister, now healthy and thriving, visiting regularly with her own family. About the warriors who had become his brothers and sisters in every way that mattered. About the mate beside him who had seen something worth preserving in a desperate human gladiator. "I regret nothing," he said finally. "You saw me fight and declared my bloodline worth preserving. But what you actually preserved was me. You gave me a purpose beyond survival, a home beyond a cage, a future beyond the next match. The Ashkarii needed genetic diversity. I needed a reason to keep fighting that mattered. We saved each other." Sylendra's hand found his, claws carefully sheathed. "The galaxy thought your species was unremarkable, just another fragile race struggling to survive. They were wrong. We are unremarkable in every measurable way," Dane agreed. "Except one. We do not know when to quit. That is our gift and our curse. Also your salvation and ours." Their daughter approached, breathing hard, grinning fiercely. "Father, mother, did you see? I did it. We saw," Dane said, pulling her into a hug despite her protests. "Your form was perfect." "Almost perfect," Sylendra corrected. "Your stance was still too wide on the final pivot." The girl groaned dramatically. "Nothing is ever perfect for you." "No," Sylendra agreed. "Perfect is impossible. Excellence is mandatory. There is a difference." She ran off to continue training, already obsessing over the stance correction. "Definitely has your pride," Dane said. "Definitely has your inability to accept limitations," Sylendra countered. They watched their daughter train as the suns set over Krell, painting the toxic sky in colors that had become beautiful through familiarity. Around them, a clan that had been dying was thriving, rebuilt through the combination of ancient warrior spirit and human stubborn persistence. The galaxy had watched in fascination as the Ashkarii found salvation in the most unlikely source. As human Ashkarii partnerships became celebrated rather than unusual, as two species proved that survival sometimes meant recognizing value in places prejudice said could not exist. Dane Korven had entered an arena to save one life. By refusing to quit, by fighting past every limit, by standing up one more time than he was knocked down, he had saved two entire species. The alien Huntress had watched him fight and declared his bloodline worth preserving. What neither of them realized at the time was that bloodlines were just genetics. What they actually preserved was the spirit that refused to accept extinction, that turned desperation into determination, that found strength in the most unlikely partnerships. Dane had been a slave in the arena, fighting for survival measured in days. Now he stood as patriarch of a reborn clan, fighting for a future measured in generations. The Crucible had forged him. The Ashkarii had refined him. Together they had created something neither species could have achieved alone: hope. And on worlds across 12 sectors, humans and Ashkarii stood together, proving that the greatest strength was not in claws or muscles or speed. It was in the absolute refusal to quit, even when every logical calculation said defeat was certain. That was the human gift to the universe. That was what Sylendra had seen in that arena and declared worth preserving. Not bloodlines, not genetics, not physical capability, but the fire that refuses to die. The Vorthan that burns brightest when all other lights go out. The stubborn, illogical, beautiful refusal to accept that anything is truly impossible. Dane had shown them that, and in showing them, he had changed everything. If you enjoyed the story, like the video and subscribe for more. Thank you.